Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I would like to call to order the Cumberland School Committee on Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 7:08 p.m. We apologize for the delay. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 6-0. For the record, Mr. Fiorello is not here tonight. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the regular meeting 4/20/2023. Approval of minutes from the executive session 4/20/23. Enrollment report 5/1/2023. School police report 4/1/2023. School bus inspection reports 5/1/2023. Residency truancy report 5/1/2023. I need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is personnel announcements. Welcome.
Tonight we have 3 appointments. We have 2 custodians that started on May 1st, Robin Williams at Garvin and John Lee at the Wellness Center Nights. We also have Alyssa Lacoste, the new Human Resources Coordinator, starting on May 15th. We have a retirement after 12 years of service for Carol Fineout. She's a paraprofessional at Cumberland High School. We have 2 resignations this evening. We have a resignation effective 5/11, Selena Flores. She's a paraprofessional at Cumberland High School. We have the resignation effective 6/30/2023 of Dr. Jason Masterson, the principal at McCourt Middle School. So we would just like to thank Dr. Masterson for his 18 years of service in the Cumberland School Department, and we wish him well in his next position. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And certainly, I think I speak for all of us in the school committee to wish Dr. Masterson well and to thank him for everything he's done for the District of Cumberland. Next item on the agenda is the report out of executive session meeting on 5/11/2023. Report out of executive session votes. We did not take any votes this evening. Next is the vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. I need a motion. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Okay, next, the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton.
Good evening, Madam Chair. A couple things this evening. Take it away, Mike. First, as you may have heard, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, so certainly now more than ever, it's a challenging job to be a teacher, but we really appreciate what our teachers do here in Cumberland. So we've been doing events all week at the school level, and once again, we truly appreciate all of their efforts. It's a all-encompassing job. So, thank you, Mike. We have some recognitions tonight, Madam Chair. First, I would like to call up our CBS Cumberland School Department Volunteers Coordinator, Roxanne Hyken. We had an event on May 4th, and we had a school volunteer event. We have some of those folks here this evening. So I'd like Roxanne just to tell us who's here tonight, have them come up, and let's acknowledge them. So Roxanne.
Amy Thistle from Cumberland Hill. Kim Nichols from BF Norton. Jennifer Allen from Garvin. And Jennifer Rondo from BF Norton.
If we can get one picture with Roxanne and the volunteers right in front, that'd be great. So everyone smile. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, if I could have our chair come down for this next piece.
Good evening. Some of you may know or may not know that in Rhode Island, under Rhode Island General Law 16.2-9, under the general powers and duties of school committees, that school committee members are required to get 6 hours of professional development annually, a minimum of 6 hours. And that is tracked through the Rhode Island Association of School Committees. Well, I am happy to present tonight 2 awards to 2 of our members who have gone above and beyond the basic requirement. In the first one, around the Leadership Academy program, just says that this recognition increases a school committee's members' credibility by demonstrating to their community that they take their governance role seriously and are committed to education. Leadership Academy participants have a keener sense of their role as policymakers and are able to hone their skills to govern effectively. Leadership Academy participants become informed decision makers, better able to make sound decisions for their districts. So we are fortunate that all of our school committee members take professional development very seriously. And it is, we're fortunate that the Rhode Island Association of School Committees offers continuous professional development for all of us around policy, around legal, Open Meetings Act, funding, formulas, all kinds of stuff. So the Rhode Island Association of School Committees has sent us 2 awards. And the first one goes to Amy Rogalski for successful completion of the Rhode Island Association of School Committees Leadership Academy. The Leadership Academy is awarded upon completion of 15 hours of approved training. Well, we have a megastar also on our school committee tonight who, we have been informed, has completed 51 hours of school committee professional development. So I would like to call Carrie Smith down to receive her award for the Masters Academy in completing 51 hours of school committee professional development. Okay, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, take that one. Thank you. Moving on, Mike. We had another fun event this week. We actually had a new playground open at BF Norton Elementary. This was something spearheaded by our Vice Chair, Mark Viollo, former Mayor Murray, current Mayor Mutter. Using federal funds, we did a whole revamp of the BF playground, and it looks really, really nice. We had a ribbon cutting, and the kids got to run out as soon as we cut the ribbon, and they were the first ones on the playground at the first recess on Tuesday. So just a nice addition to BF. And should we go forward and do any new BF design, it would work around this great playground. So it's not something that would ever be in jeopardy of being lost. So it was a great day. I'd like to thank everyone involved.
Dr. Thornton, while you're
Yes.
flipping the page, my school committee members are letting me know that at the recent Rhode Island Association of School Committee meetings annual banquet, Mr. Fiorello was also recognized for completing over 100 hours of professional development. So, thank you, Mr. Fiorello.
Next up, in your drives, and also we'll put it on the website, we do have a lot of activities going on at all the schools, so I'm not going to read these off to you, but you'll have them in your drives. It's by building and by calendar, so just a lot going on. So if you want to know what's going on and where, just go to your drive, and for the folks at home, just go to our website, and you'll see the activities. So just wanted to point that out. You can go right through them, Mike. I'm not going to go through them. Okay, next up, Bonnie, one more time for something that happened this past weekend.
This past weekend, RIDE ran a job fair at the Crown Plaza. Marion Barone, the confidential assistant and benefits administrator, and myself were at the job fair on Sunday. Marion did a fabulous job setting everything up. She took care of all the table and all of the decorations to make people want to come over to see us. We talked to over 200 potential applicants, and we were able to come out with 10 applications for hard-to-fill jobs in the sciences, math, and STEM. So we're really excited to be able to interview those at the end of the matrix process. And so we thought this was really successful for us this year, and looking forward to hopefully doing this again in the future.
Is this the first year they've done that?
It is.
Awesome, good. Thank you for participating.
I would add, try as they may, they did get on camera. I think it was Channel 10 or Channel 12 did get them, so they were on TV. So, and as usual, we have our construction updates for you. First up, we have Garvin. That's the new addition at Garvin. You can see a lot of progress on the roof, progress on the outside footprint, the walls. Thank you, Mike. That's, I'll call it a courtyard. It's the back of the new addition. You can see just that view from the second floor of the old Garvin building, looking down at the new space. And once again, another view looking down the line of the new construction. In terms of timeline, I know before we were maybe 6 weeks out of the start of the year for the addition. Now we're probably 4 weeks. We're getting a little closer. The main part of the main building is still on schedule, on time to open. This new addition still a little far behind, but we have made progress. The foundations, the floor's been poured, the roof is on. As you can see, a lot of things happening. Framing happening inside. That's the inside. So it is moving forward. These are a couple of views. In the main building of Garvin, the window frames are in, the door frames are in. So here's a little picture of a couple of the frames. And another example. Also, while we're doing this, they're obviously sheetrocking, they're taping, all that's happening. Low voltage wiring's going on. So that actually is a view. Go back one, Mike. That was the old library. Go forward one, right there. That was the old library. So it's a real interesting transformation. I think when people go in the building in a few months and start looking at it, they're going to be amazed what's happening in Garvin. What was the cafeteria is now classroom space. So it's very different from what you are used to seeing for Garvin. Going on to Ashton, that's the outside. It looks fantastic. You can see roof completed, windows in. It's just really looking sharp. Next one, Mike. The fire alarm is going in. Very exciting for me. So I like that. That's good. Next, cabinetry is coming in and being installed. Cubbies are being installed. Nice cubbies. The bathrooms are underway. The tile is in place. Nice accents in the tile. Once again, more cubbies going in. That's the main hallway. Looking at the ceiling grid is in now. That's happening. And once again, another view of cubbies. And this is nice. The window casement is in the wood on the window down below. That looks very nice, very sharp. And lastly, community, looking really sharp on the outside. That's the view of the cafeteria from the front. Sidewalks are going in. They're kind of partially poured here, half in the back, and the front still being put in. Ceiling grids going in. Sheetrock being finalized with taping. Go ahead. Once again, just the ceilings and the cabinets are being delivered, sinks being delivered. Community like Ashton is on time, so all things are go at community school. That's another sidewalk view, and one more sidewalk going in. Now, the last part of my conversation, we've always talked about timelines with, go to the next slide, Mike. Timelines with the schools. As you know,
Hold on, Dr. Thornton, we have a question?
I just have one follow-up with Garvin, and I apologize if you've already answered this, if I missed it, but Garvin was slightly behind schedule.
the
Have we
addition is behind schedule.
So how much have we, did I miss it? I'm sorry.
I mean, I would say we shaved a little time off. We're getting closer. We're still probably late September, early October for the addition, but kind of like Cumberland Hill, we improvised during that time for we used the common areas, so that may be the case. They may catch up over the summer. Just right now, as of May, that's where they are.
You know I'm going to ask you every meeting, every time it comes up, so
Yep.
thank you.
That's fine. Back in 2018, when you all envisioned all these projects, we have a timeline. This school gets done this year, then this school, then this school. As you can imagine, pre-pandemic, pandemic, now here we are. Sometimes things have to be adjusted, and we do that. So tonight I have one adjustment to tell you about that I want you to contemplate. So as you know, We did Cumberland Hill last year, right? And they were in the swing space, they went back. Currently, Garvin's here. Garvin gets completed, they go back. Next year, Ashton comes up here, right? And we finish Ashton. The conversation 2 weeks back, one of our meetings was around community school. Pre-pandemic, at the start of this, the scope of Ashton was so much. We're gonna do so many things. Over time, trying to meet what we call the Cumberland Hill standard, right? Cubbies, everything, right? Ceilings, everything. We really came to the realization, community was slated for 2 summer jobs. They call them summer slams, start in June, end in August. 2 summer slams for the entire building of community, probably our largest footprint we have. So we really came to the point where we realized that's really probably not realistic. A, it's hard to start and stop construction for that kind of scope, and B, the cost will escalate every year you go on. So we looked at, what might we do with this? So here's the current thinking, having talked to Megan and Lewis and Alex and Mike and everyone. Right now, we know last year we pulled roughly 36 kids out of Cumberland Hill, out of community to Cumberland Hill. That was the first enrollment adjustment, right? When Cumberland Hill came online, now they're right-sized. The plan all along has been to make community a 4-track school. Currently, they're a 5-track school. So making them a 4-track school would pull roughly 120 or so students out of community to a newly renovated Ashton a year from now. We always knew that was the case, and that's still the plan. This fall, for that piece, we'll be modeling what that may look like for the committee and give you our best thinking probably early fall. I'd also probably ask the chair to give me a couple members of the committee to help look at that once we get it, to kind of have you test our thinking. But now, if you get those numbers, right, those streets, if you will, we would have a conversation for that change all of next year. It wouldn't happen for another year, right? But now, stay with me, community now is a 4-track school. Next question was, if we can't do community over 2 summers, what if they come up here like the other schools are coming up here? So we did model it, and the principal walked a few times with Michelle Carter, who's here now, and Will Jesus. We can fit community up here. They can fit less 2 specialized classrooms for 1 year would have to go probably to Ashton. So they can fit. So the current thinking is up here. Ashton comes up here this next year, then community comes up here. If we do that, we stay on budget. It's really a 14-month construction schedule from June of 24 to August of 25. So it fits. The only other wrinkle, if we do this, is the preschool. Once again, stay with me, there's not a lot of moving parts. The preschool next year comes up here with Ashton, right? When we're all done all the construction, the preschool stays here on the first floor, right upstairs. We have 7 preschool classrooms, right? If community comes up here next year, the preschool would have to go somewhere for 1 year. So we looked at what could that look like. The current thinking is the new footprint of community, the new CAF, the new classrooms, and there are 2 or 3 classrooms being renovated in stage 1. We could fit the preschool, the 7 rooms, in the new space of community that's done in the first stage, if you will. And they could be there for 1 year with the principal, with a nurse, right, in the 7 preschools. So that would afford us to have the preschools at community for 1 year, community upstairs, and community gets done on budget, and on time. The fear right now is if you left it in 2 summer slams, as they call them, you run the risk of running over budget by a lot and also probably not hitting your timelines. That's a problem. So it's something we have to, react to. I do want to bring it to you tonight to kind of have you guys process this and think about it, right? It's not something happening tomorrow. Ashton's next, right? This is a year from now. But I don't want to have you think about this right before it happens. We have time. But that's our best thinking to do community right after. The last piece of this is BF Norton, as you know, and whether that's a current renovation, right? Or if it gets on the ballot and you have a new BF, that's the last piece. So either way, that's at the end. So I know it's a lot, and I wanted to just have you guys process that, ask any questions you might have. And also,
There
I
are
have
questions.
our architect's here, our
Okay.
lead is here, so any questions for them?
We'll start with Mrs. Rogalski.
I'm trying to think of how best to ask this. How does this come as a surprise? Like, with all of the planning and all of the work and all of, everything laid out with the construction companies, with the project managers, how are we just now knowing that, oh, we can't get this work done in 2 summers? How is that not known already?
I can't speak to the origins of this. I can just tell you, the one thing I have observed, having been here, is we did increase scope. Originally, Cumberland's projects were health and safety, as our architect will tell us. Safer, warmer, drier. We then, in our first job at Cumberland Hill, we did look at what else we wanted to do. We did, the doors, the cubbies, the ceilings, heating systems. And community is the biggest footprint. So all I can tell you is I think we're trying to match the Cumberland Hill standard, and that has changed the formula a little bit. Other than that, I would say pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, sometimes just the thinking changes. Cost escalations over several years, probably not the best thing now in 2023. Like I said, me telling you this now in 2023, we're trying to process it, right, and think about it. But if you weren't going to do this, you could still stay to the same schedule. I'd have the experts tell you we're probably going to have to make some value engineering decisions and not do certain things to make budget. And also, starting and stopping over the summers is probably going to be problematic. I don't know if the experts have anything to add to that, but.
Just 2 more follow-up questions to that. First, and maybe it's just I'm not sure how the school nurse is currently working with the preschool where it is, but if we are dedicating school nurse strictly to the community building, how will the community students be nursed here? Will they
Yeah.
see the high school nurse, or will they have?
No, all along, once the preschool was a full entity upstairs, we're going to hire a new nurse.
Okay,
It's always been the equation, also with a principal. Right now, Ashton oversees the preschool, so we have a person, Nellie Norman, she'd be elevated to a principal at some point, should she want that position, and a new nurse has to come online for the.
so we are looking at added costs for this, added,
That's always been the plan, though, to have a nurse for the
Okay.
preschool.
right, and then just the last question. I know you talked about the plan to move community to a 4-track school. I mean, it's been 5 tracks ever since my kids have gone there, and it just keeps growing. No matter what we do, no matter the changes that we make, North Cumberland is growing, there's new construction, and I know the projections are that we're gonna grow, but maybe it'll be in the south part. But what happens when we have a lot of growth in the north and community, we try to move kids out, but it still expands? I mean, 4 tracks that's some large classes of children.
Just like now, when we get capacity, we look elsewhere in the town to fill the need. A 4-track holds, if I'm right, Mr. Rada, 575 for the 4-track. That's the same model as a new BF. We have a 4-track in the north and the south. Right now, community numbers aren't bad. They're 21, 22, up, holding them down. Most of our growth right now has been like K1-2 in Garvin, Ashton, the middle part. We're getting a lot of growth. But it's always a challenge. It's good to get more customers, right, more students. It's just the challenge is trying to manage it. But that's why we're always talking about, at least I am, talking about a new BF, because we're looking at the modeling of the enrollment. We keep going up.
So we're potentially looking at redistricting a little bit for moving those kids to Ashton and also placing out of placement areas if we have too many numbers at community?
Right now, the plan always has been to make a community a 4-track.
Right.
With that, we had to do the task next fall of modeling that. Where would we take those houses from to put them to Ashton? Ashton's now a 3-track school across the board. That's always been the case. After that, essentially every year, people can make requests to go to a school out of their area. We gather all the requests over the summer. We usually grant around 80% of them or so, maybe 85%. But that's always been the case. But community right now is not our biggest class size. They're 22s in a lot of cases, 21s. We have other buildings with 25s, 20, larger numbers. So I just wanted you to have, yes.
Smith?
Just a couple of questions on the, you mentioned it too. So does these changes impact any of the percentage reimbursements from the state? Are we putting anything else in that could encompass us getting additional percentages back from the state on the funding?
I will call the experts for that.
A maximum reimbursement? Right. Just maximum, not including like the Providence and what they're doing with them, and they can go up to 96% reimbursement, so. Right. Okay. And then just a thought to ponder, because this is a lot to take in. I can see where there will be a little pushback of, well, if we're dropping it to a four-track school at community, yet we're saying we need to build this new school at BF Norton to make it a four-track school and not just remodel it, how are we looking at that? And are we starting to look at that to say, well, here's the pros, here's what we need to do, this is why? Because I think there's going to be many people in the town are going to say, are we just shifting students? Why are we doing
Yeah.
that?
First thing, happy to jump in. First thing I'd say is just think about also, if you look at Cumberland Hill, we didn't just do a renovation and kind of spiff up the classrooms. You also made common areas. You change, it's a 21st century school now, so it's not just making classrooms and just moving on. So you're changing the footprint. I think in community, we have 4 common areas or 4 large spaces. So that really changes the footprint. You really, by doing that, you don't have the capacity to have 5 tracks at community once you modernize the space. But right now, as I look at it, if you went 4-track at BF, you had 244 seats more for the district. And in looking at the numbers, I know right now Cumberland Hill is right-sized, if you will. Garvin is very close, right, with the enrollment. Ashton, if they get the track from community, is very close. Now it's just a question of, like I said, you have community on this end and you have BF on this end. Both are 4-track schools with a little ability to take some students.
So just a couple of questions, Dr. Thornton. So you mentioned the costs are going to be overrun if we don't do this. Do we know the figures?
I would defer to one of my experts here. If we go the Summer Slam route, what kind of overruns could we experience in cost, is the question. Oh, sure.
Good evening. I want to use this. Okay, that's a little better. Not in order, but a couple of questions that were asked. The new projections and the capacities being developed for the potential new BF Norton allows for some growth in every one of the other elementary schools. So there will be a little buffer for increased enrollment in the other ones. That's how we created the capacity at BF Norton. This whole issue of the BF Norton really created, for the first time, the opportunity to bring community to the swing space. Ideally, that's what we would always have done. Summer slammers are a nightmare. They're a nightmare for the school. It adds cost. If you think you need to go out and contract and get bids on work that's going to be done 2 years forward, those prices are always very high because they have to buy that material and not know what the expected escalation is going to be on that. So that creates that thing. But if we go back to the original plan, BF Norton would be coming here next summer. What the new BF Norton option has done was be able to shift Ashton to come here, and then community can come the next year. We always would have wanted to do that, but we ran out of years. It was a 5-year plan to be able to do community. So it's a big benefit, we feel, that it's going to alleviate a lot of headaches for the school, the administration of the school, and also keep costs reasonable. And then,
Mrs.
Feather has a question.
Excuse me, so, thank
I-
you. I just want to clarify, though, so this may just be me personally, I have no issue with community school coming here. That's not my issue. My issue is wondering about, when we approved this, we approved a block of money, essentially, and I'm just wondering, we approved it knowing that we'd have the summer slams in place. So why is there going to be a cost overrun with what we approved and knew we would be doing?
mainly because we are experiencing an unprecedented escalation in construction costs. Typically 3 to 4% is expected on a yearly basis, right? Construction, labor contracts come up, and it's always expected that they get some increase. 3 to 4%. Last year was 16%, and they're expecting that to continue. So that has been the biggest cost. But I remember the other issue that was brought up, 4 tracks.
Actual
Why can we
fee.
do?
Yeah, oh, sorry. I just want to know the numbers. What is the cost going to be for the overrun?
Oh, we don't have that number currently, but I can tell you that the preliminary cost that the construction management manager came up with were close to $1 million in additional costs for that.
Unless we know the figures, I don't think we can vote on that, right? I mean,
Oh, there's no vote on this.
it's on here for discussion and/or vote.
Should you want to add it on that way, you don't have to. I just want you to have the option.
Well, why don't we, so we'll discuss it then to see what additional information members of the school committee need to be able to
Yeah, to make an informed decision.
make it, educated vote.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, that concludes my time.
I'm sorry, I know I'm reiterating myself, but I just think there is kind of an issue when we're kind of blindsided by this cost. And having to make a decision around, changing up the plan. I'm a go with the flow type of person. I don't have a problem with changing up the plan or with community coming here at all. I just really have a question about the costs.
Understood.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I mean, if we have all summer, we don't have to make a decision until the fall. I mean, these are numbers we can get over the course of the summer. It is on here for a vote, but I don't think anybody in their right mind would surprise the parents. Let the community speak and let them digest and get feedback from parents and help make an informed decision.
I just wanted to give it to you early enough. We're
Yeah.
2 years out. I want you to have it now so you can look at it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think and another important part of this is that there will be a redistricting that happens when Ashton comes online. And we need to really start preparing people for that now. And like you said, we'll put together some members of the school committee to look at what that might look like. And that's really important for people to start thinking about now.
Yes, and for that plan, once again, if we model that for you in the fall, we'd have all year to process it, tweak it,
Yep.
right, entire year. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Thornton. Okay, next on the agenda, we have reports of standing committees, starting with the Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Mr. Collins?
Thank you. The Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. For the full committee, we had payment of the bills, 13 resolutions. Mr. Brignano presented the food service audit and the corrective actions that were taken, and Cumberland, relatively speaking to the rest of the other districts, according to the people who handled the stuff, did very well. And we are in budget season. The mayor released his budget on Monday night, so we had a very robust budget discussion. Where it stands right now, the Cumberland School Department is about $500,000 short of what we asked for. Dr. Thornton, Mr. Brignano talked about their plan to address that. The good news is that plan does not include any cuts to personnel or programs. So we look forward. I know President Kinch is here. We've had a couple good budget seasons. It has not been contentious like in years past. So appreciate getting through the next couple months there and getting a budget by the end of June. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Next is the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. I don't believe the Policy Subcommittee met. Okay. Next is Achievement and Communication Subcommittee update. We did meet last night. And we had one agenda topic, which was high school update, kind of achievement data as well. And Missy Kuzinitz, who is our K through 12 curriculum coordinator, and Mr. Costa were both there. Missy was sharing all the work they've done around creating a consistent curriculum across all the core subjects at the high school, grade 9 through 12, and that will be implemented starting in the fall. So a lot of work has been done on that around assessments and sequencing and timing and all of that. So the teachers have a lot of professional development as part of it, but that in and of itself is a kind of a Herculean achievement. So we were happy to see that. We did review some SAT and PSAT data and looked at some AP data as well, and we'll continue to work with them and monitor what's happening at the high school. So it was a really good meeting. Next is the District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Mrs. Rogalski?
All right, we do have a update for today. The District Health and Wellness Committee met on April 27th. Today is May 11th. Just a few updates from that meeting and some stuff surrounding it. You might remember from our previous meeting, we explored the breakfast menu. This time we were looking at reviewing and sampling a few items from the lunch menus at the schools. We did find out some information that I'm not sure everyone knows because of the food prices being tiered between the schools. There's a difference in quality of what they're able to offer at the different schools. So for example, in elementary school, they might have pressed meat chicken nuggets, but at the high school, it's a whole meat chicken tender. At the elementary school, the pizzas are cut into 10 slices. At the high school, they're cut into 8. So there are various differences in food that I don't think that I realized. Because we do have a higher price point than other schools in the district, which I know is a debatable talking point among families in the town, we are able to get higher quality products and fresh fruit and vegetables. We actually have currently an $80,000 state grant for the elementary schools to bring in brand new veggies or fruits. They mentioned purple cauliflower was brought to Cumberland Hill. So it's kind of a neat way to get kids to try and see new produce that they might not never normally see and try. We spoke about how all lunches have to have certain requirements, whole grain, sodium, and weekly carb requirements. You have to have a veggie, you have to have a fruit, and everything is whole grain. From the pizza to the cheese sticks to the buns to the breading on the chicken, everything is whole grain. Sodexo is doing a survey. Shauna Trudell is running that for students, and it will be open to parents as well. So looking forward to feedback on the meals for that. After that, we discussed a little bit Project Adam. I don't know if you remember, we discussed that. It is a review of your cardiac event procedures that you have in your district. We haven't done anything with it yet. We sent it to Mr. Costa and Mr. Crowley, and we're kind of waiting to hear back from them on future steps for that. We do have plans in place for cardiac events, but this would be a great free resource to have them look at those plans and assess the programs that we currently have and where we could get even better. So we're kind of looking forward to that. We have an update on the Healthy School Meals for All bill. There are 2 bills concurrent, one in the House and one in the State House, one in the State Senate. The House bill was held for further study after the finance hearing because all bills were for budget purposes. The Senate bill was passed and brought to the floor. They had a hearing last night, and the education chair and sponsor said that it's a priority for the Senate. So that is really good news now as negotiations begin with that in the Senate. But of course, any support from residents of the state is very helpful. So I will point you again to the link to let your state senators know that you support it, as on the Health and Wellness page. Just 2 more things. 3 more things. No, 2 more things. I attended a May the 4th Strikeout Vaping event last week down with Tanya Rao and Pam Storm from middle schools. As we all know, vaping is a pervasive problem throughout schools across the country right now. It was a conference for all schools in the state, for nurses, student assistance counselors, administration, school committee members, anyone involved with the schools. And what it did is it presented alternate ideas instead of just suspending vapors or students caught vaping. It promoted several different programs that work on teaching the kids to quit. It worked on some different ideas where kids are in more of a talk therapy group session, talking about the reasons for vaping besides just punishing them automatically. So there's some really interesting programs that are out there. They did have several pieces for people to bring back to schools that I know Ms. Rayo and Ms. Storm took for the middle schools. I took some stuff for the high schools. I'm going to be meeting with, I've been in touch with Mr. Kuntz at the high school to talk about that, but basically it's QR codes for schools to display for kids to get information on the programs that are available to them, and we're going to put it in, more discreet places because not all teenagers want to be seen getting information. And the last part of our discussion, which I thought was just a really nice kind of feel-good story, is that after we discussed the Healthy School Meals for All bill, did you know that we have food pantries in place in the district at the schools? BF Norton has one. The resources are running low, so they're actually writing to the Feinstein Foundation, I'm not sure what the proper term is, but for grant money to restock that. But Nydia Carbonic from Ashton was telling us that they're actually constructing one at Ashton currently. They asked the construction company working there if they could have some leftover wood. The construction company said, what do you need it for? When they found out what, they just donated brand new supplies to them. They have some parent volunteers building. It's going to be an 8x4 sized food pantry, 2 doors, a roof. The fifth graders, for their graduation gift, are buying a sign and naming it. They're currently brainstorming the best way to stock it and looking at other programs in the state, how they do it. For example, some schools take a week. This week, third grade stocks it. This week, the fifth grade stocks it, et cetera. But they've also been in touch with the Feinstein Foundation, and they love the idea, and they're kind of using Ashland as a guinea pig to see if they want to fund more pantries throughout the state. So that is something very exciting and will be very helpful for our community. And that's it. We'll meet again in June.
Oh, so informative. Thank you, Mrs. Rogalski. Next on the agenda is comments from the public. Oh, President Kinch, come on up.
Good evening, everyone, and I just wanted to give you an update on that budget schedule that Mr. Collins did bring up. So just for your record, on 5/24 is going to be the Finance Subcommittee on the 23-24 budget. The first public hearing is 5/25, and we're going to have that at McCourt just in case we got a larger crowd. I think it's good to do that. We're going to return back to the Town Council chamber for the second hearing on 5/31. And then the final vote will be 6/7.
Okay.
And before I go, I think I really would like to congratulate the two school committee persons, Amy and Miss Smith and Mr. Ferrillo, for their Rhode Island Association School Committee Award. To do that on your own time is really commendable, and that's why we got one of the best school districts in the state. You folks obviously set the example. Myself, Ms. Vogel, and Mr. Collins were at the school volunteer event the other night, but I do, on behalf of the town council, want to thank those volunteers again, Roxanne and her group, and it was Miss Bissell, Miss Nichols, Miss Allen, Miss Rondo. I want to congratulate them on the behalf of the town council for everything they do for our teachers and our students. And lastly, I think I'd be remiss not to congratulate Dr. Masterson. Never mind that I worked with him as a member of the town council, but I worked with him many years in my former profession as a police officer in town, and it's going to be missed. He true professional. So with that said, I just thank you.
Hold on,
Yes.
President Kinch. Mr. Collins.
Mr. Kinch, the 25th of May, we have a school committee meeting that night, so if there's any sort of wiggle room, so I know a lot of us, myself especially, likes to be the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually, if that was the case, that we're looking to poll you for the 24th if possible, for the school committee.
So move the school committee, would it be easier? Oh, yeah, I'm good with it, that's fine. So move the school committee to the 24th so you guys can maintain, because you're going to be using McCourt. It's hard to get that facility, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough.
I appreciate that, too.
As long as it's on the radar,
Patience with
thank you.
that. Thanks again.
All right, thank you, President Kinch. Next, we'll move into, if there's no other comments from the public, next we'll move into new business. I'll take the first item here, which is discussion and or vote to approve school committee appointment to the Cumberland Charter Review Commission. So, according to our town charter, kind of within every 10-year period, the town council puts together a commission to review our town charter and to make any recommendations to the town council. This Charter Review Commission consists of 9 members, 7 of which are appointed by each person on the town council. Each town council member gets their own appointment. The mayor gets their own appointment. And then according to town charter, the school committee appoints a member. Now, we actually, through our legal counsel, we talked about the process for how we would do this. And we, as the chairperson, I gave an appointment to President Kinch to the town council for this Charter Review Commission. But we wanted to just make sure all of our I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and make sure that we did this in the public forum here. So the recommendation for the appointment to the Charter Review Commission is Mr. Bill Denon. I had the pleasure of serving with Mr. Denon for, all the 4 years, or 2 years, 2.5 years, on the school committee. I know Bill to be a great collaborator, a great listener. He has got like this photogenic memory, and keen understanding of the funding formula, the town budget process, the school committee budget. So I feel he's got some great knowledge to bring to the committee. But we will vote on this, and then Mr. Denon is here tonight, and he actually would like to have a couple minutes with the school committee. We could do this under discussion. Yes. we talked about this.
I have a question procedural, though. So what you're asking is, if, and this is, again, I've already talked to Mr. Denon, there's no reflection on him. So if he is your nominee, shouldn't we have his name on the agenda? So since his name's not on the agenda, it is open for other nominations, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so, so, you know, one of the things that I had, and I've already expressed this to a lot of people on the committee, is, you know, the town council has nominated people, and I credit Mr. Kench for nominating a woman. I've discussed this privately and publicly. I do, and I've already told this to Mr. Denon, I think we need to have a woman on this committee. I've told that to you privately and publicly. The census, last census shows the 52.6% of the women, people in town are women. And if we nominate another man, the makeup of the Charter Commission will be 11%. So that being said, I'd like to nominate Melissa St. Jean, somebody that, you know, I've spoken to and I've vetted. So I don't know where this is gonna go. And it's not a reflection of Mr. Denon or anything else, but I do think we need a woman. So I'm gonna throw Melissa St. Jean in there. Some people know her, some people don't, but I've talked to her a few times. She knows Charter Commission. She was talking about Charter Commissions in other towns. So if it fails, it fails, but that's my nomination.
So Mr. Collins has made a motion to appoint Melissa St. Jean. Do we have a second? Mrs. Vogel, second. Discussion?
No, I mean, and again, I'm not trying to like surprise, but it was the original plan. What we were told was that it was your call. So when I see the agenda, there was no follow-up or anything like that, and I just assumed, and when I saw Bill and I went right up to him and I said hello to him. But that being said, well, the way I read it on Tuesday was that it would be like a normal nomination. So I just decided to go through, and I'm not trying to throw, you know, any sort of confusion into this. This looks like another nomination and vote, so I throw a name out there, see what happens, and it's not, but I was surprised to see this on here, so.
While we're under discussion now, so there can be comments from others on the school committee, including myself. I certainly hear Mr. Collins' concern and advocacy for having an additional woman on the school committee. I am a woman. I understand the importance of having women, but I also understand the importance of having a really qualified candidate that can do the kinds of things that I think will be good in this commission. It is unfortunate that there weren't other women appointed. I personally don't feel that it's our responsibility as the last appointee to appoint a woman. I would never want to be appointed to something just because I was a woman. I would never want to get a job just because I was a woman. And I don't like to necessarily make decisions in that way. But that is my opinion, and we're under discussion. So we have a motion and a second for discussion. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just add, it's a reflection of, the majority of people in town are women. I think the Charter Commission should be a reflection of the breakdown of the town, and that's where I'm coming from. And it's not like I picked some person out of a hat. I asked, I found a candidate who's clearly qualified. I mean, Mr. Denon is clearly qualified, there's no doubt. And if this fails, I'll 100% support him. But I honestly, I just think when you look at the layout, there's people there, it's like one woman in a town that has a majority of women. I think it's bad optics. I think it's bad business, so.
Mrs. Feller?
So, yep, thank you. So it's my understanding that, that it's on the agenda to put forth a candidate tonight. And I don't know, respectfully, Mr. Collins's representative, the person that he's nominating. So there would be no way that I would be able to support that because I have never even heard the name before. I think Mr. Denon is a very well-known person in town, and has dedicated countless hours to the town of Cumberland, so I would definitely be in support of Mr. Denon.
The motion we have right now is,
Yeah, I mean, well, this is a discussion and a vote, so we're going to discuss it. So I think that, I think obviously the Charter Commission needs to be picked, but I think if this should have been done differently, I think we should have had a more of an open, I mean, in the sense where we should have been able to vet, no, in a sense where.
well, and we did discuss the process we were going to take for this.
And it
and-
changed on the agenda, because the process was you were going to appoint it, and that was what
Yes.
we were told.
Well,
And this came as a surprise to a lot of us.
we thought we, under our legal counsel, we agreed on the process, and you're right. We put it on the agenda, actually, President Kinch wanted to make sure that this was in an open forum, so we are following that. This could be something that gets reviewed and revised in the charter. As the people who are on the committee look at this, it's clear in the charter that each town council member appoints someone, the mayor appoints someone, and then it says the school committee appoints someone. And according, to our legal counsel and the role of the chairperson, we agreed that the chairperson could make this appointment. I thought, by bringing it here, that, we could do this in this open forum too. I wasn't expecting an additional nomination, because that wasn't the point, but you have the right to do that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. It fails 1 to 5, 5 to 1.
May I nominate, may I make a motion to approve Mr. Denon? Yes, please. Thank you.
So Mrs. Feather makes a motion to appoint Mr. Denon. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? Oh yeah, Ms. Smith, sorry.
I just think that, Bill, you're going to be a great asset to this, and not just from your time with the school committee, but your time in history in the town. And to me, that's very important, and you certainly fit that bill. You have relationships with a lot of the people, and they know you to be an outstanding person. So thank you for coming forward and at least being here for this vote for us.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, it passes 6-0. I did ask legal counsel whether Mr. Denon could speak during this item on the agenda, and I think I asked legal counsel, and we said we could. So come on down.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I think it's something I'm really interested in. As Karen said, as the chair said, I was on the school committee. I've been in your shoes. I know the amount of work you put into this. I know the good work you do, and I'm going to do my best to represent you. I am a lifelong resident of Cumberland, and I took a little time away to go to college and after my first job. But other than that, I've been here for my whole life. So this town and the charter are both important to me. I'm going to take this seriously, and I will do my best to represent you and what you hope to get out of this process. It's an advisory process, right? The commission puts together recommendations for the town council to consider, and then the town council decides what the residents of the town will vote on. So, we are not really making any final decisions on this commission. We're putting forth ideas and trying to get the best ideas together. So in that spirit, I would like your feedback on what your priorities are. I think we have a bunch of time, so there's no rush on this. The first meeting, as I understand it, is June 12th. And that will be an organizational meeting, I'm sure. But that will be the first opportunity that we have to give our ideas and put them on the table. So I'd like to, number one, extend an offer for you to contact me. Let me know your ideas. And I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to, I don't know what we do if you all don't agree on ideas. Like, I think that's one area of the charter. I'm not really sure what happens. If half of you want to do one thing and half of you want to do another, I think we have to work that out. At the same time, I'm happy to come back here and give you updates. So as this process goes on and we meet periodically, I will come back if you'll have me, and I can give comments. I do know that the town council has already started a list of priorities that they would like to talk about. I won't go through all of them. I think the most pertinent one for the school committee is how vacancies on the school committee are handled. There's been a suggestion that if there's more than 6 months left on a term, like Mr. DeMonico's term, that there be a special election. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about that. I think with a 4-year term, I'm not sure 6 months makes sense. I'm happy to talk to everyone about that, happy to talk to the rest of this commission about that. But that's one that directly affects the school committee. Some of the other things that also affect the school committee are the building committee requirements. So having a $250,000 line where you need a building committee, should that number be changed? I don't know when the $250,000 was set. I will find out, but it's been some time, and we know that dollar figures are different these days, right? So projects are different. There are some residency requirements for certain positions. They're up for discussion. An allowance for a municipal fire department is on the list. These are all from Mayor Mutter's list and Councilman Bolio's list. Those are the only two lists I saw. There's also in the charter mention of the mayor's salary. I think it's a starting point, it's a floor, right? It will not be below a certain amount. I think it's like $35,000 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's something that needs to be updated. I think there are other things that need to be updated too, like, we have to imagine that this document only gets edited once every 10 years. And since the last time it was edited or amended, the state has changed its name. We're no longer State of Rhode Island Providence Plantations. I expect that to change. There are some, I found one instance where they refer to the mayor as him. I don't think that applies, right? Like, we should just change stuff like that. Now, I'm not sure if those kind of changes have to go in front of voters. We'll find out. But those are things that I've looked at and just say, well, that doesn't make sense, right? So just to bring it back to what I said before, I'd love to get your feedback. I'd love to talk to you. I'll email you, or you can email me, and we can start the conversation that way. Do you have any questions for me today?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and for you to be able to come and give regular updates. We can talk with Mr. Adams about how best we give you feedback, whether we do that in this. We can do it here, but not right now. Not right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. I understand that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Denon. Thank you very much for the commitment. Next on the agenda, we have discussion and or vote to approve revised elementary school start and end times for the 2023-2024 school year.
Madam Chair, in your drives, you see the sheet looks like this with the proposed times for you. And talking to Mr. Fiorillo a few weeks back, he had related that early on in the process, the discussion was, when possible, try to revert back to the pre-construction times. So that's the attempt in this model. So in this model, you're back to the two early schools, BF and Garvin, 8:15 starts, and the 3 9 o'clocks, Ashton, Community, and Cumberland Hill. The only caveat is we still haven't nailed down in this model the preschool. Right now, they would do the identical time of Ashton. It's Ashton's preference if they could have a 10-minute stagger. We won't know the answer for another month or so. But right now, we'd assume they're the same time as Ashton. Could be a 10-minute variation, but that's essentially it. So the big takeaway here is, if you did this, you're just going back to what you were before construction.
Okay, so we have this on the agenda to discussion and or vote. Do we have a motion? We have to motion and then discuss.
And once again, Madam Chair, like other items,
Discuss first, no, Mr.
I put them on here for discussion and action. You don't have to act tonight.
Yeah.
I just do it that way in case you want to.
Yep. Okay, Mrs. Feather,
Okay, so, thank you. So, everything looks good to me on the Ashton part, but I just wanted to ask if we're giving any consideration to the high school.
The high school, going back to when I was here, circa 2010,
I know,
11.
it's asked every year.
It was a 10-bus ad. It makes all the sense in the world to go a later high school time. It's just $85,000 a bus times 10.
Yeah, thank you. I just had to ask it, but thank you, I know.
So this is going back to what it was before construction and everything.
Yes.
I know this is, Mr. Fiorello said this was really important, especially for the BF Norton and the Garmin parents. That's been a burden having the different times this year. So this is welcomed, I know, on that end for next year. Oh, Ms. Smith.
Sorry, I just want to re-clarify this, because you're saying it's going back to the times, but I'm looking at some of those times, knowing, I think, the community, it looks like it's been bumped up by 15 minutes. I don't know, the Ashton, I can understand with staggering or things in Cumberland Hill. I thought that those were, at one time, they were 9 o'clock starts, 3:25 ends.
I'd have to look back. From talking to my bus folks, they had 3 lates and 2 earlies. I don't have it in front of me. I can't really speak to that, but that's typically what it was. The first bell, 9 o'clock, 9:15 start. But I could be corrected on that, but that's what I recollect.
And I was just wondering, because when I saw it, I thought it was perhaps due to staggering with the buses and knowing that we were going to have an elementary school up here and having to readjust still, but getting as close as we could back to what it was.
Right now, this is in concert with the bus company. We asked them what could they do. Could they go back to pre-construction? And they gave us this. They could do this.
I know I received an email this week from a parent asking for these start times so that they could start planning ahead for their childcare. So I think people are eager to get this finalized. So do we have a motion? Motion by Mrs. Vogel to approve this? Okay. Do we have a second by Mrs. Feather? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, discussion and a vote to approve Stage 2 letter of intent for school renovations.
Madam Chair, I think on this one, I would call upon our lead at Colliers, Megan Havrilla, and/or Mr. Tarada, to take us through the document you have in your drives on the letter of intent, the LOI, if you will. And just to orient you to your packet, you would have one document. It's a page and a half, just a writing, and you have the spreadsheet along with it.
Good evening. Okay, so we've got a couple documents to go through this evening between myself as well as Louis Tirado. We'll be going through what you have in front of you. The document that you have right here is the letter of intent, and this is what Cumberland plans to present to RIDE as part of the necessity of construction stage 2 application. So this is what we've been talking about for months now, and really just laying out the next plan for Cumberland. So what this letter is just outlining, we are looking to do additional capital improvements that weren't covered as part of the prior bond, things that we've identified as we've come through these 3 years that we've been going through the current bond. And then there's obviously the bigger item to talk about, which is the new elementary school for BF Norton. So without going line by line, just to give you a quick summary, what we're looking to capture here is what we're presenting to RIDE for approval. And what we're presenting to them based on a financial aspect, we've outlined a number of about $12 million for the capital improvements, and then about $50 million to build the new elementary school. So there's a supplemental document that goes through a greater breakdown in terms of the financials, and we'll go through that momentarily. But what's also important to outline within this letter that was developed by Dr. Thornton was just outlining the enrollment and where BF Norton stands in terms of capacity. At this time, I don't know, Dr. Thornton, if you'd like to add anything more to the enrollment in terms of what you captured in the letter of intent?
No, I think it speaks for itself. Thank you.
I know this, I don't know if there's any further questions with this particular document. I think, honestly, the next document regarding the financials tells you a little bit more of the story of where we are, you know, where we've evolved since the last time we met. So certainly open it up to any questions on the letter of intent. We can always jump back to it, too.
Collins?
Megan, I do have a question. The answer's always been no, but at the state level, has there been any change to reimbursements if we were to put this off another year? Has there been any legislation proposed where there's been a question? It's not whether people want to get on the ballot, it's in town, it's the timing of it, whether it's this fall or next fall.
Correct.
And as it stands right now, we have to have this approved by the end of this year, 2023. Has there been any change at the state level that would give us some flexibility to put on the 2024 ballot, to your knowledge?
Continued conversations, but nothing new at this moment. I think there's, you know, we have to see what happens in the next couple months, and we'll see. I hate to give you not a full answer, but at this time, there's still ongoing conversations, but nothing final at this time. So the one thing that I'll add is with just, I'm sorry, Mike, do you mind going back to the letter of intent? The letter of intent, what's important to also recognize with that is the second page. There's 3 signatures that are required. It is, you've got your school superintendent, the mayor, and then school committee chair. So this, you know, is telling RIDE that you have a commitment from Cumberland that we're looking to take these next steps to really evaluate this next step in the whole necessity of construction process. So if we go to the next document, this is the financial sheet that has evolved some more. And the intent behind this document is to really hone in on what are some of these costs that Cumberland will expect. So what we didn't get into from the last time is understanding you're going in for a RIDE approval in terms of a scope of work that you're looking to have approved. So there's a RIDE dollar amount that you're looking at. There's also the bond referendum amount of which you're going to the voters. So, you know, with Cumberland, it's a little bit different because we're looking to leverage for the new bond referendum we're going after is we're going in for a new elementary school. We're also going in for the capital improvements. We're also looking to capitalize on the funds that were already allocated for the BF Norton, under the current bond. So that's roughly the $8.3 million. We also have, as part of the current bond, there was $3.9 million that wasn't, it was approved from a financial standpoint by the town, but it was not approved by RIDE from a reimbursement rate. So when we go in for this new bond as part of the capital projects number that you see at the very top, you can see we've got roof projects, we've got roof project at the high school, we've got ADA, security, health and safety work. We're also doing some playground assessments. And then you'll see Ashton and Community added scope to the original $79 million bond. And that ties to the $3.9 million. So what we're looking to do is capture that $3.9 million and be able to get reimbursement back on that so we can be able to capitalize on the savings there. So that is the summary of the capital improvements. If you go down to the section below, that's the same elementary new construction cost that we've been talking about. So that's based on your 4-track school at the RIDE cost per square foot at this time. So if we go down a little bit further, all right, so you'll see in the next blue box, it says RIDE Stage 2 requested approval amount. So this is just, we're going to RIDE saying, these are the projects we want to do. This is the associated cost. What this shows right there, it has nothing to do with the prior BF Norton 8.3 million or the prior 3.9 million. Just want to make sure that we keep those separate because they have different meaning behind them. So I'm going to pause there to see if there's a question on that. If there's not, I'll keep going.
The previous $8 million for BF Norton, I thought that was one of the open questions we had about whether that could be applied
Yes.
to this.
And yes, it absolutely will be. So when we go down to the next box, thank you, Mike. So proposed new bond amount for referendum. So when we go out to the voters in the fall, the bond, the language will read that we will go out for $51 million. And that $51 million is calculated based on the capital improvement projects we're going in for, new bond, as well as the new elementary school. And then we will roll into the 8.3 from the prior bond as well as the 3.9. So that's where you get the offset in the costs. So that's captured in that box, okay? So the next big item to talk about is reimbursements. What does this mean? Where do we stand going into the end of this year, going into 2024? So these next two boxes right here, they are capturing bonus points, part of the new bond. So what we have to make sure we look at is, and this is what we got clarified from RIDE this week. So the prior bond amounts, the 8.3 and the 3.9, because they fall under the current bond, they will be reimbursed at the current rate. That rate is the base rate of 43.8% plus the 20 points that we're getting for all of the reimbursements that we're getting as part of the bonus points, health and safety, oh my gosh, blanking on them. Educational enhancements. Oh, you got me. So there's the 4 bonus points that we're capturing. So what has changed since we last spoke was that when we go in for this next bond, the reimbursement rate changes to the new reimbursement rate that is in place right now by RIDE, which is Cumberland's rate is 39.3%, okay? So we did have 43.8, it has been reduced to 39.3. So when you look at these charts, we just broke it down a little bit more for you. So going into these calculations, we wanted to show capturing 3 bonus points and 4 bonus points to see. Obviously, we want to maximize as many bonus points as we can get, but there's further conversations that have to be had amongst Cumberland, amongst Mr. Tirado, as well as our friends at RIDE. So we wanted to just be able to show you right there what the reimbursement rates would look. So as we've been discussing, these bonus points, as it stand, expire at the end of 2023. So when you start to look at these numbers, you can see these are what we're looking at to build a new school, capital improvements with bonus points. If we go down to the very bottom box, this is where we can capture or see where the costs fall in terms of when there's no bonus points at play. The numbers change pretty drastically. So we wanted to be able to capture that and make sure, most importantly, Cumberland understood, you know, the reimbursement rates have changed a little bit and where the numbers are falling right now. Lots of numbers. Any questions?
Is this 39.3% reimbursement rate new information?
I'd have to check. It came out, I don't know when they posted the new ratio sheet, honestly. I can pull it from RIDE's website really quickly and let you know.
So the rate changed to the 39.3%. Do we anticipate any further changes?
No, not at this time.
Questions? I think everyone's heads are like, ooh.
I know. Yes.
Explain, please, again, the difference between with the 3 bonus points versus with the 4 bonus points. What determines whether we get 3 or 4? Is that just up in the air?
Yeah, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Tirado to come up here for that, to just explain the bonus points. So just to explain the bonus points that we're going after in terms of the 3. So the 3 bonus points, and then, yep, you got it. And then the 4. I'll get my sheet.
So there's a number of categories. What we have done in the current bond project is go after 4 of those categories. That is health and safety, educational enhancements, reduction in overcrowding, and increase of underutilization. For example, the high school is, according to the capacity studies, is underutilized. By you moving eventually the pre-K to the high school, you utilize more of the high school space, so their utilization ratio goes up, and so that's how we qualify for those points.
Right, but my question, I understand that part, but my question is, why 3 or versus 4? Is there a question of which one we would qualify for?
No, I think pretty much we've always expected the first 3, and then we need to still go through the documentation for the increase in underutilization. But I'm not sure if so for the calming bond with a new BF Norton, it would be the same first 2. Educational enhancement and health and safety. Then there's decrease in overcrowding, because what we will show that if not for a new BF Norton, it will be very overcrowded. And then the last one is replacement. There is a bonus points given when you replace a poor facility with a new facility.
And just,
Ms. Smith?
I'm sorry, if I can just add a little bit more. So there's also safety and security. So it's all how you package it with RIDE, but it's something that they need to be understanding of it too, because the next bond goes in for a 5-year plan. So we wanted to just put it out there so you could see. Obviously, we are going to maximize as much as we can for Cumberland, but just in case, this is what we're still looking at.
Ms. Smith?
Just looking at just so you know, we were passing the temporary bonuses around so that everyone could see the chart. Well, I had it from RIDE, so, but the one that I'm wondering about, and especially when it comes to BF Norton, are we going to try, or do we know if we could even qualify under the replacement bonus? Because the facility has to have facility condition index of 65% or higher. So I'm not sure where we would stand with that.
Part of our stage 2 services will be to do a new study and investigation to document that we would qualify for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Adams.
Unusual for me to ask, but I'm just trying to get a handle on some of these numbers.
Okay.
So in the gray box, there's a figure of $8.3 million for it's a subtraction of money that was already approved. I take it that that money is sitting somewhere or is available to be used and would have been used, for example, if, for example, there isn't a new building built, that is money that the voters already approved to do renovations and so forth.
Correct.
So
yes.
that exists
Yes.
as cash that can
Yep.
be used, right?
Yes.
So my question is, I'm a hopeful person, so I'm looking at the 4 bonus point option,
Yes.
right? And I understand the capital improvement less the $3.9 million because that's the less of the amount not substantiated by RIDE, right? So that's where we get 8.5 plus 50 million is 59 million total for the project. That's the same on all of the 3 lower charts because it's a delta that doesn't change. And then we see the state participation rate, the Cumberland participation rate, and the total nut for Cumberland, as I see it, under the 4 bonus points is $24,158,000, right?
Correct.
Where does that $8,354,885 fit into that 24 million? Or does it? Does it further reduce that 24 million?
No, it's already been taken out of the 51 million calculation. So, well, actually, hold on, Steve. No, okay. So this is where we have to keep them separate. So that is new bond. So these numbers down here are new bond only.
The orangey yellow numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
The orange color is new bond only. So, I'm sorry? So,
Sorry about that.
actually, that's a great catch. And
So what we're wondering is if the 24,000, if you subtract, 24 million, sorry, I keep doing that. If the 8.3 million gets subtracted from that at the end of the day.
yes,
Yeah,
hold on.
because we talked about that, when we went on the site visit, we talked about the school ending up being like, well, actually, I thought we said 15 million.
If I remember correctly, when we had the meeting too, so the 8 million is part of that $79 million bond approval that's been done with the town already. And they're going to take that away. We're not going to, that reduces our bond down, if I'm correct.
Correct.
So that so the 8 million that we would have applied for BF Norton there, we're not going to apply, while the new amount that we're asking for, maybe for the 24 million, or the whole net process of whatever that is, 59 million, you're looking at it like you're saving 8 million off the $79 million bond. Does that make sense?
I thought we were applying the 8 million from the 79 million bond to the new BF Norton number.
Right.
Oh, I think,
That's what,
And I
the
remember
last
it
we
being
talked,
in
I
the
thought.
teens the last
oh,
time
I
we
thought
talked.
it was just,
I think Mr. Adams is correct in terms of, now I've
Legal
got,
counsel to the rescue.
That's a nice way to say confused.
okay. Give me tomorrow to get this back to you. Okay? They're 2 different bonds, but in terms of to have the math, I think, okay. If you can give me to tomorrow, I will
Okay.
follow up and get you an answer. okay?
So when does the stage 2 letter need to be approved and sent?
Of stage 2 actually submitted to the state, if I'm wrong, correct me, late summer. However, we have this month of May to really, go through you vetting this letter of intent or the BF Norton concept.
Yeah.
Town council vetting it in the month of May, and in talking to Senator Pearson, would have to be going to him before May's done as far as getting sponsored. So at some point, if we have to meet again next week, that's fine, we can do that, to look at this.
Because,
But a month of May, we have to,
Yeah.
everyone has to process it.
because we talked about potentially getting this on the town council calendar, agenda on Wednesday, yes? No?
Yeah, we asked the other day through the town council to have us consider for the agenda for, I believe it's the May 17 meeting. I think
Yeah.
that's still somewhere in process, but that was our ask, to be on for May 17.
So we got some work to do.
Like I said, if we have to revise this, we can certainly poll you for a meeting, a one agenda meeting for this early next week. If that's what we need to do, we would do that.
And I know, Dr. Thornton, the mayor has been part of some of these discussions as well, and he's been supportive of.
Yes,
this.
he is supportive, and he wants to see us go through our process, then certainly see the council go through their
Yep.
process, but he is supportive, yes.
We do have a follow-up call, not a follow-up call, a call with bond counsel tomorrow, Hilltop, to really understand a little bit more of the debt and, also, bringing on a new bond to the town of Cumberland. My apologies, I will get you an answer.
So we're not in a position to vote on this tonight. And it sounds like we might have to have a special meeting to
Right.
vote on this if we want this to go in the process of getting through to by the end of May.
Right, and I think tomorrow, when we see bond counsel late morning,
Okay.
we'll actually have that info too, and if we come back to you next week, we can poll you, for Monday or Tuesday, we'd have the bond counsel info and we'd have this chart for you.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for now.
One of the other documents we included was on BF Norton. Lewis, Mr. Torado, has been working with Dr. Thornton as well as the mayor just to take a look at the site plan, add in some more green spaces, also a memorial to our veterans, I believe. So I don't know, Lewis, if you want to speak to that, but there was some additional changes to that, and there was, a further update regarding the baseball park too. So I don't know if you wanted to package that together.
Sure, yeah, just to add to that if I could, if you look at the map, on the map, the actual visual of BF, and per our request, Mr. Torado did make some modifications. In talking with folks in the town, there was a request to have some more green space in the front of BF as folks walk down the new street. They want some places to kind of be able to, sit for a bit. So they have that new green space now modeled at the curbside of BF. And also, look to your front right corners around a circle. See that kind of circle? It's kind of red. That's one idea where there was talk of the current memorial we have in the back corner of BF, right? There was talk of, you could put it in the front and center here with a circular kind of benches and like a podium to kind of make that nicer space. Or B, you could leave it back where it was and do the same idea. But the current thinking from the architect was it's kind of in a corner, no one's seeing it, and you could have a nice kind of showcase of the memorial right on the curb with a nice circular seating and like a whole venue there. So that was just an enhancement we had for the drawing. So thank you, Mr. Torado, for doing that.
Ms. Smith?
Forgive me, but where's the original BF in this picture?
Original BF is the front parking lot, the front rectangle.
Right, but that's maintaining. I'm sorry.
Right
Because
here.
I'm looking at,
Check it out.
a-
This is BF. That's BF.
This red line?
okay. I see it now. Right, yeah, that I saw, but, okay, so the goal is then the school would be eventually taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Parking lot.
in this model, if we think ahead 3 years now, not just like, community 2 years, 3 years, if you did this, BF would not, in theory, come to the trans. They'd watch construction out their window, and you would not bus all the students up from BF up here. They would stay and just watch the construction from their space. At the end, last thing you would do is do that front parking lot at the end.
And there's no baseball field. I said there's no baseball field.
In this model, and talking with the mayor, there is a conversation of if we did, not have a baseball field here, maybe another one in the town at some point to kind of offset that.
Mrs. Feather?
I understand that you're probably talking with the mayor about this as well, but making sure that there's a baseball field close to where BF Norton is, so that those, that the same kids that were going to that baseball field are still served with one, would be appropriate.
Smith?
I'm sure Mr. Fiorello, not being here, would absolutely be pushing for that as well, because we do know that there was a lot of green space and fields in usage that was taken away when BVP was put up. And that section of town has been pushed more and more away from opportunities for the students. So this is a big issue to lose that field.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. More to come. So we can move to the next item, which is discussion and a vote to approve the revised school construction timeline, which we talked a little bit about earlier, and we said that we didn't have enough information to make an informed decision tonight, but I would just like to use, Dr. Thornton?
Yeah, I would just say that can certainly be a recurring item on the agenda, and I can always list it every time as discussion action. So whenever you do want to take some kind of action, you can. We can put it on for the next several meetings.
So what I just wanted to kind of just pull quickly is there any specific information that the school committee is looking for that we can ask Dr. Thornton and others to get for the next time we meet? You mentioned, Mrs. Feather, the cost.
The cost would be helpful.
Yeah.
But if, I would like to maybe forward as I think about it more.
Okay, yeah. So everyone just keep that in mind. If there's more information you need for this decision, you can reach out to Dr. Thornton.
Yeah, any items you have, pass them along. I'll get them processed and get the info to you before the meeting, if possible.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a vote to approve the ICSI MOA for temporary custodial position transfer. Dr. Thornton, do you want to explain that?
I'll go to Ms. Dresdick on that, I believe.
So this MOA is a one-year transfer for the custodian from Ashton Knights to be transferred to Cumberland Hill School, while Ashton is located here at the transitional building. This MOA gives him rights to his position at Ashton once the construction is complete and Ashton is reopened.
Thank you. So let's see. We have we need to make a vote to approve this. Do we have a motion to approve this transfer? Motion by Mr. Collins. Second by Mrs. Rogalski. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, discussion and a vote to approve homeschool instruction request for the 2022-2023 school year.
Madam Chair, we have the one.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Rogalski. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and a vote to approve resolutions. Mr. Collins.
Thank you. We have 13 resolutions, starting with SCPR-05-2023-41 through 05-2023-53. All 13 resolutions passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve resolutions SCPR 05-2023-41 through SCPR 05-2023-53. Do we have a second? Second by, I'm going to go over Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item, discussion and or vote to approve payment of bills. Mr. Collins.
Okay, we have payment of the bills in the amount of $2,159,251.89. Payment of the bills passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I'd move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve payment of bills. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Any comments from the school committee? Mr. Collins?
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody Sunday's Mother's Day. I think the weather's supposed to be good, so all the mums up here and grandmas and anybody who serves in that capacity, happy Mother's Day. It's definitely more important than Father's Day, so you guys earned it. It really is. Nobody cares about Father's Day. So anyway, enjoy your day off. So, you earned it. So, congratulations.
Any other comments from the school committee? All right, then next, vote, oh, sorry, Mr. Collins?
Well, yeah,
Back-
you mentioned it briefly, Dr. Flynn, but it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and in light of the school volunteers, the function, Ms. Vogel was there, I was there, Mr. Kinch was there, and Dr. Thornton. In light of that, thank you to the volunteers, but the volunteers did, and a lot of companies in town donated food and a variety of things to the different schools. And I tell you, the spread at the schools that I've seen pictures of, a lot better than the crap they gave me at my school. So,
I'm sure they appreciate you, Mr.
yeah,
Collins.
okay. Ice cream sandwich tomorrow, yay. So anyway, congratulations, and that was awfully thoughtful, so thank you to the Teachers Appreciation Week, so that really means a lot to the teachers, believe me.
Okay, next item on the agenda, vote to go into executive session. I don't believe we have that, Dr. Thornton.
All set, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Rogalski.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feather, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:44 PM. Thank you, everyone.